Hello, welcome to Real Awaken Wild. My name is Monique Gomez, your guide to conscious sexuality, embodiment, and finding the truth of who you are. And today I want to talk about awakening out of the binary. So when I talk about binary, I'm talking about the either or, right? Like the two sides, polarity. We have this or we have that. It's black or it's white. We live in a culture that really likes to put things in categories. It's like, check what box you are, male or female, right? We're not very comfortable when we're talking about the gray areas, or if we don't have a yes or no answer, if it's a maybe or it's an I don't know, we can get really uncomfortable in that space. However, on an awakening journey, you got to get uncomfortable, because when you're awakening to the truth of who you are, the binary has to be released to incorporate all of the goodness that's between the two polarities, okay? Polarities create separation, right? And we really are trained to understand that separation rather than understanding the wholeness of what we're talking about. So for example, when we're awakening into our sensual or sexual self, we have to get out of the idea of even straight or gay, right? Or bisexual. Even bisexual, there's the binary in that, okay? So we gotta try to find room for places in the gray, in the continuum. Even how we identify our gender, male or female. Well, now, there's non-binary. Maybe you don't wanna express or identify as male or female. Okay, so I recently read this article by Sam Killerman called Breaking Through the Binary, Gender Explained Using Continuum. And I absolutely adored the way that this article described how we sit on a scale, basically a continuum, when it comes to our gender identity, our gender expression, our biological sex, our sexual attraction, and then our relationship attraction. And in the article, it also really spoke to the fact that all of these things are not dependent on the other, that they're very much solo, okay? So, for example, your gender doesn't have to equal your biological sex. So just because, for me, for example, I was born, biological sex was female, okay? Or is female. I identify as a woman as well, okay? But I could also identify as a male, and that is my gender identity. So it's important here to know that gender is different than sex, okay? Your biological sex refers to your genital organs, the hormones, and your chromosomes in which you were created from. Whereas your gender is what you feel from the inside, if that makes sense. So when we talk about sex and gender, they're two different things, and they can be completely opposite of each other. So both of these can be on a continuum, because like I said, your gender does not have to be male or female. It can be non-binary, or it could be a little bit of, I'm more female, or I'm more male, I feel more male or more masculine. And even sex, your biological sex, there are people born more than you would think of the intersex population. So this could be, somebody born with a penis and a scrotum, but they also have, a uterus inside of them, or some kind of female genital reproductive system inside of them. So there's all these different ways that we can actually relate to ourselves on a very different scale than black and white. So awakening out of this binary is really important in all of these parts of our sensuality in our erotic landscape. So gender identity does not have to equal your biological sex, okay? And then your gender expression does not have to be the same as either of them. So for example, your gender expression could move from a female or a very feminine expression to a very male or masculine expression. For example, I consider myself pretty androgynous because I kind of live in between. So I can be very present more masculine, like sweatpants, a hood, baseball cap, men's shoes. I could rock that one day and I feel very much in that masculine space. And then I can go, put on heels and a dress or lingerie, and then I'm expressing more feminine. Okay, so there's the gender fluidity of expression of how we express, and this can be changed throughout the day, right? And another example that I want to kind of bring into the mix is who you are sexually attracted to does not have to equal who you're romantically attracted to. So you can have on this continuum, feelings of sexual attraction towards more masculine or male energy, or female or feminine energy, okay? But that does not mean that you have to be in relationship, or that you are romantically attracted to the same masculine energy as you would be the feminine energy, if that makes sense. So there's all of these different aspects of your sensual nature, of your sexual erotic landscape, that are all independent from each other, but also create this beautiful non-binary place of self. So this can kind of be confusing and heady and like labels and all of these things. But what I wanted to bring today was this idea of we have to break out of the either or mentality, of the binary space, because you, my friend, are not one or the other. You are all things. You can find a wholeness of you by listening to yourself. And you are a unique expression of all of these sensual pieces, and you are allowed to change and be fluid throughout your entire life as you keep exploring yourself. So what really helped me in this article was to see it as a continuum, to see it as a scale, to see it as something that kind of moves between the black and white, that's more in the gray. And when you're on this awakening path, you discover that you have a much more, you have a bigger capacity to allow these pieces of yourself that don't fit in the either or, that don't check that box. So today I invite you to kind of sit with these different pieces of yourself. So how do you express your gender? What is your biological sex that you feel, or that you were born into? What's your gender expression? How are you attracted sexually to people, or how are you attracted romantically to people? Because they're different things. So just keeping these things in mind, getting curious. Again, the link to that one article that inspired this post will be in my post that you can find at moniquegomez.com. And you can learn way more about self-love awakening, intuition, embodiment, and just overall how to be in your sensual self. And that again is at moniquegomez.com. And also when you're there, don't forget to sign up for the newsletter. I got a lot of good freebies and just lots of love that I don't share with anywhere else unless you are on that newsletter. And you get all that good stuff. So until next time, my friends, stay curious in your sensual exploration and your self-love journey. Take care.